In this game, we are playing.
Am I actually live? I'm live, but there's no scene on TikTok. Dude, I've been trying to fix this for forever. Is there any audio? Test 1, 2, 3. There's literally no audio. I'm live, but there is audio, but my camera will not work. I've been trying to fix it. Ay, caramba. Why is my camera not showing? Okay. I think the LCS has ruined the LCS. Wait, hold up, hold up. That's pretty funny. You're live and audio is fine. Thank you. Flower. Oh, Flower Can Bloom. Long time no see. You think the LCS will ruin the LCS? I mean, I'm on your side. I think the LCS has done such a poor job at running and managing the LCS. I've completely and entirely given up on Riot Games, like working towards reinvigorating the LCS. I legitimately think they're incompetent. Like, the more I look at their decisions, the more I realize they are very good at starting something. They are very bad at upkeeping something. Like, they need to have a separate department for continuation of LCS. Like, I think the way they started LCS, like, they peaked in 2015, 2016. This was an incredible esport that they had built. I just think they needed a different department that was like, we know how to make things consistent and stay stable and make things better. I'm just thinking of Valorant. Like, Valorant was so much bigger than what it is now. I remember, like, I used to teach like back in college, and my students would want to play Valorant with me, like to the point that like it was a prize. Like, oh, okay, if you did well, if your grades improved a certain amount, um, like I'll do whatever you want for a day. For a class, and they wanted to play Val. That's like the only times I really played Val was with my students, and I sucked. But it is what it is because I literally have never played Val. But it's very frustrating how like the amount of times they get things with like what's the word I'm looking for? Um like a golden goose. They're so good at finding or developing these geese that give out lay golden eggs, and they don't know how to feed it. They don't know how to keep those golden eggs healthy. They just kind of let them die. Um uh which is very very sad in my opinion. I feel like they definitely could do a lot more, but that is not actually what I'm planning on talking about today. Uh, I'm trying to go live on TikTok as well, and for some reason, like anything I do on here is supposed to like be mirrored to TikTok, but it just refuses to do that, which is a little frustrating. But um, it is what it is. Yeah, I want to talk about imports because there's this stat obviously that like for the first time ever, I think there's more like Koreans in the LCS than there are like North Americans. We've always been there have been roles like I remember there are times where like I think Palafox or Insanity were are only like North American mid laners. We just had imports from everywhere. We had a lot of EU imports at some point. We were importing people like freaking Blue and Dove and like people you feel like why are they getting opportunities? We clearly have players that are better than them. But I just want to talk about importing as a whole. LCS never reaching the same heights they had in pre-franchising, even though it's supposed to be a better structure for the league, is confusing. I think that comes down to incompetence. I don't actually think it really frustrates me when people look at esports and like esport is not sustainable. Esports is a bad thing. It's like no. Esports is incredible. They're like, oh, League of Legends, it's a bad game. It has its problems, but there are people that mismanaged it. Look at how LCK is having their homestands. Look at what they're doing in EU. Like, just look at the amount of stage games, like homestands that they have, the road shows. It clearly can work if you figure out we didn't tap into regional fan bases in EU until 2024 or 2025. Like, why did it take so long for that to happen? Right? If you have people like the smartest people around working on these things, surely they would have noticed. At least let us try this, you know? I'm not even saying for North America, like LCK. How long did it take for LCK to like start doing their roadshows? Right? It took forever. I know, yes, last year and this year they did have, but like maybe a format where every month, the first weekend of every month, there's a road show, and they go to Busan, and they go to Daegu, and they go to like Ilsan. They go to all these different places with like all their hype matches. I think their format, honestly, like I love the format. Dude, the number of Genji versus T1 games, T1 versus Hanwha, like it was just so much fun watching LCK. And that's why I'm like actually going to start a podcast, an LCK podcast. If anyone wants to join, I'm still looking for a co-host, but it was just honestly, I really, really enjoyed it. Split one, I thought was incredible. We had so many best of fives. Our LCK Cup was honestly a joy to watch. Obviously, it sucked a little bit with the formatting, how like T1 had to play Hanwha Life for like sixth spot, and but or to make it into that top echelon, right? It was like an elimination game, kind of sucked. But everything about that LCK Cup was very entertaining, and it's like I don't know, maybe a format where I don't have to split three. We didn't get FlyQuest versus C9. Like we straight up, we had a whole split where we didn't get it, and it's like well, you have to criticize the format. Um, but sorry. Anyways, back to I can talk a lot off topic. Else, some players like Fake are really good in NACL, but never could translate play to LCS. Gives you the vibe that he never gonna work out in a championship winning team. So I agree, and I think it's very important to have players like that because for every 10 Fake Gods, there's gonna be a double lift. Double Lift didn't win anything until 2015, right? He was playing since 2010. It took him 6 years. 2010, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. 6 years for him to get his first trophy. And then obviously he won like 8. But it's really hard to like to win a championship. It just is. And we need the players like Fake God because they're the ones that make the stories of people like Double Lift incredible when they overcome all the obstacles and win, right? I'm not saying Fake God is going to be that person. And obviously, Double Lift from the very beginning, we knew he was better. Like he had his ups and downs, but like season 2, I think he was like, or season 3, like one of the best AD carriers in the world. It was very, very clear. Fake God never was like that. He had like one split where he was like front runner for MVP and then like completely fell off a cliff, right? Um, so it's not even close. LCS tried to cut too many corners, unfortunately. I think LCS. Okay, I don't want to say too much because I don't know if this is true or not. But the feeling I get is that people made bad decisions and got promoted because they were able to blame the bad decisions on something else. And that feels very frustrating because in my job, if I mess up, I'm gone. If my boss messes up, they're gone. If my director does something stupid, they're gone. If the principal director does something wrong, he gets promoted. Like, and it feels like that it's like very frustrating because of networking and blah blah blah, right? But I don't even know why I said principal director. I could have said like managing director. I just made up a word. It just is very frustrating that things like this happen. And I think if the LCS really took seriously what other people did in the beginning, I don't know. My camera's just not appearing on TikTok. I'll figure it out next time. The if people were held responsible, maybe we wouldn't have this level of incompetence. If that makes sense. LCS, yeah, roadshow's good, but will people even attend? I mean, yes. So if we had roadshows in North America, and the roadshows came to the Midwest or the Northeast, right? If they came anywhere, basically east of LA, you will have people attend. Now, I'm not saying go to a 30,000 person venue, but get something like 5 to 7K. I think is very very decent, right? I think also they need to figure out how to make it profitable because like people in other industries do live shows all the time and they make money off of it. So you got to figure out not losing money. Like that just sounds unreasonable to me. I'm not the finance guy. You can ask David. Maybe I can actually DM him. I see he's streaming. Let me check if he's streaming real quick. Maybe I can get him on here and be like, why are roadshows not um David Shynock. He's not streaming. Let me DM him real quick because that's something I actually don't really. I haven't really thought about what Riot is doing wrong, or maybe they are profitable. They just don't want to do it. But let me at Shynock. Why are road shows in NA not profitable? Okay. Sorry. I do think, but I legitimately do think if in North America we had road shows, they would absolutely be profitable. Good. Ooh, LCK podcast would be hyper 2026. Yeah. So I'm a Hama Life fan if you know anything about me, right? But I don't show it too much because I only really watch Hama Life games and like up until 2024 we hadn't won a single thing, right? We made it to Worlds back when Chovy was on there, but it was like Chovy and Four Wars kind of vibe, you know? But yeah, no, I've been a Hama Life fan since they joined. And I used to watch their vlogs way back when. And I think it's what kept me watching a little bit of LCK. This year, though, I feel like the LCK format was like fire. So I watched a lot more LCK than just Hama Life. And I was like, hold up, why don't I just start a podcast? Because I really enjoy LCS Report. And the other thing is, I'm trying to find someone who watches more LCK than I do. Because again, like I don't watch too much LCK. I'm gonna start watching more, but I really want someone who's like in touch with the LCS the same way with the LCK, same way I'm in touch with the LCS. I watch every single game. I know everything. I feel like having someone like that on the broadcast, not the broadcast, on the podcast would help a lot. Me by myself would I don't think would be um, great, and it would be cool to like learn and get all these details from that person. Back in season 3, Double Lift had bad teammates. Season 4, they got a remote coach that wasn't with them 24/7 to discipline them. Was that Monty? I think you're talking about Monty, right? Um, those were some fun times, honestly, especially when they went to boot camp in EU and Korea, and you were like, they're gonna come back, they're gonna be so powerful, and they completely choke their faces off and just lose immediately. That was beautiful. But imports, CLG started imports with Seraph, right? Well, was it? I think they started Korean imports with Seraph. I think Bjergsen was imported summer of 2012, 2013, right? No, he was 2014. Bjergsen was 2014. So maybe Seraph was the first? I don't remember who was the first import. Anyways, pretty sure CLG Seraph was the first Korean import. Um, I think there I have a couple of like not arguments, but a couple of points to bring up. If we put if we brought out all of our North American mid laners, right? So we had Palafox, we had like if we think of like the highest caliber NA mid laners, right? Cat Evolved, blacklisted, no one's gonna pick him up. We had um High Fire, right? He could have been great, but he retired. We had like Toasty, I think in NACL this year. There was Toasty, there was Insanity, there was Dark Wings, obviously. Like those were our best mid laners. Are they better than Quid? Are they better than Quad? Are they better than Loki? Are they better than Saint? The answer is just categorically no. Those were our 4 top best mid laners this year. So there's something to say about getting these LCKCL mid laners. Obviously, Quad was not LCKCL, right? He was a starter. He has experience, but just getting these mid laners that aren't starting on KT or T1 or Hanwha or Genji, right? Getting these sort of, I don't want to say tier 2, but like instead of S tier, we're getting these A tier Korean mid laners. Like Zinni, for example, Shopify. And they're just better than our North American S tier talent. They just are. Now, people, I think we've abused it with people like Morgan, or maybe not Morgan. We haven't seen Morgan. We've abused it with people like um, uh, Rich and Dove, right? Did they really deserve a spot? Did they really deserve that import slot? That's an argument to be had. I think the answer is categorically no. But just in general, sometimes you take gambles and they don't turn out well. Like Vikla, for example, split 1, amazing mid laner. Split 2, absolutely, like he was benched for a reason. So I think there's now I blame that more on FlyQuest, to be honest. Like the Vikla Prince collapse, I completely blame FlyQuest coaching staff. Maybe I can talk to FlyQuest at some point, but I you see a collapse like that and you're like, that's probably like 60% coaching staff and management, 40% the players, if not even more for the management, in my personal opinion. But like you see these hyper talented players that come to our region and elevate the standard. Do you think Masu is as good as he is if he wasn't practicing against Berserker? If he wasn't practicing against Sven? If he wasn't practicing against like Rahel? Like, they elevate our region and they make our tier 2 players even better. So that's another thing. One, we don't have players as good as them. Two, they elevate our region. When Huni came, every single top laner had to relearn top lane because Huni was just better. Reignover were just better. We had to rethink how things work. Now, obviously, those are extreme examples, but in that sense, when let's say I'm Shopify's general manager, I'm Simon, right? My name is Simon right now, and I'm looking at a program that's going to cost, I don't know how much a tier 2 program honestly would cost. So I can't even say that. I could put in the resources, the time, the management, the effort of trying to run a tier 2 program, have it take 3-4 years before maybe seeing any sort of profit or any sort of player that comes up that's good. And then hopefully hope that that player is just as good as a tier LCK mid laner, not S tier LCK mid laner. Or I can not spend any of that money. I can take that money and effort, right? Because that takes a lot of time and dedication, finding coaches and iterating. Take that money, give it to some scouts, obviously way less payment, right? Put that time and effort into scouting what LCK is doing. Take their A tier talent and not worry about North America. Like, as Simon is like, okay, I'm gonna get a better player with less effort and less money, less budget, less everything, right? Now, long term, we'll talk about long term like ramifications for that later. But how is it not appealing, right? I can very much see, let's import Zinni. Especially since I don't want to spend the next 3 years trying to develop the next APA, the next Darkwings. Like, I don't want to do that. We need to make it to Worlds now. Now, Shopify have been slow and steady. I think Shopify is one of the few teams that's like always had North American talent, right? We had Fake God, we had Insanity, we had Palafox, we had, we do take care, like, we're not just like import for no reason. But just like, this is just hypothetical. You could talk about FlyQuest, you could talk about Team Liquid, you could talk about like Disguise, you could talk about every Dignitas, every single team. Let me catch up to the chat. Sorry. I don't think teams are ignoring those NACL mid laners. They probably know something about them that we don't. So Wayne Vanilla, I'm not too informed on everything in NACL, but I'm quite informed, I'd say, and I don't think that's the case. Cat Evolved, for example, like, he's just blacklisted. But like, Darkwings could have started. Yeah, I mean, I think people like Insanity probably should have gotten a shot. Or could have, not should have. I think Abadage was just a horrible, like, I think if I'm not mistaken, I don't think this is leaking anything, but Insanity said no to replacing Abadage. Like, they picked Abadage because Insanity didn't even trust that team, or he didn't want to join that team. But they ended up picking up Darkwings, right? And Darkwings was clearly better than Abadage. Rich, yes, because he's the faker of Hearthstone. Yeah, or not Hearthstone, Hero of the Storm. Yeah, Heroes of the Storm, but not League of Legends. Yeah, like, on paper, the best mid laners in the league next year, Zinni, is an LCK, or the best mid laner, singular, is Zinni, is an LCK Challengers League that has never played Tier 1 before. It's crazy value you guys get out imports. Exactly. Like, this guy could have been the next Chovy, right? Now, how often are we going to get the next Chovy? Probably not often. Obviously, Quid, Quad, these people are like studs. Would they have been the next Chovy in LCK? I doubt it. Same thing with Berserker. He comes here, wins championships, wins MVPs, goes back there. Like, you're not getting on T1. You're not getting on Hanwha, right? There's Viper, there's Guma, there's these like incredible players. It's very, 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 very top heavy in LCK. Yeah, you're just gonna be a mediocre AD carry because the best AD carries in the world like are there. So there is an argument. Like, Zinni probably thinks, okay, I'm not taking BDD's spot. I'm off contract. The best team I can start for is like what, Nongshim instead of Scout. Like, that's the best team I could start for. Again, you're playing with Lehens. Like, you're playing with incredible players, sure. Or you could go to Shopify, win that, win MVP, win Rookie of the Split, go to Worlds. Like you could also do that, right? With this, so I understand the appeal of coming to North America as well. Now when LMQ came in, the whole league learned and got out. Oh, dude, LMQ was a. I understand why there's an import regulations because of what happened at the LMQ. Is he gonna be the prince on FlyQuest? I don't think so. So I had a talk with Revan about Zinni, and it's going to come out tomorrow. So I don't want to spoil too many things on it. Put money on it? I don't know what call she is, but he is a very eccentric person from my understanding. He has a very unique way of thinking of the game. And I think Revan is going to be enabling Zenny very, very well. So I'm hoping that it works out. I'm hoping that it does work out. Now, we talked about a lot of the positives of imports. One last positive: it's so much easier for someone like Zinni, someone like Quad, someone like who played under Chovy, someone like Berserker who played under Guma and Teddy back in the day, right? It's a lot easier for these players to go to Worlds and not get destroyed by Chovy, not get destroyed by Viper, not get destroyed by Zeus. Because they at least have the experience of scrimming against them, playing against them, being underneath them, learning from them. One thing that Busio said in the FlyQuest documentary about their collapse was, we go to Korea, we boot camp for a couple weeks, and we learn so much and improve so much. It's so OP. And these LCK teams and LPL teams, they get to do that the entire year. How OP is that? Right? So like, the Korean solo queue is much better than North American solo queue. Korean scrims are better than North American scrims. Korean environment is better than North American environment. Like, a lot of it is just better. And so these players grew up in a better environment. They can bring that here. Do you think LCKCL is stronger competition than LCS? I think it could be a good discussion. I don't know. I don't watch LCKCL. I doubt it because our top end can compete with LCK top end. Now, we don't beat them, but again, we took BLG to 5. We took what's it called? Genji to 5. I think our top seeds are maybe 4 to 6 or 5 to 6 in Korea. In LCK. And I think LCK CL are probably like 8 to 10 in terms of LCK. So I think LCS is just better, at least our top end. Now, if we're comparing the entirety of LCS and LCK challengers, well, they have more teams, so it's a little hard, but I think it could be a mix. I think like I can definitely see a challengers team being like second in North America. Kind of what happened with Brazilian team, right? They ended up finishing second in the LTA. But I wish I knew more about the Challengers League so that I could make a more appropriate. I'm kind of doing like I'm kind of just like mirroring what happened with Brazil, but obviously Brazil's higher end is lower than LCKCL higher end. So who knows? Who knows? I think if we had like a show match like the Asia Internationals, maybe we don't win. But if we had a league where we competed all the time, I think definitely North America would win. Oh, she's gonna kill me if I don't. Sorry, 1 second. I don't want to die. Sorry, my sister-in-law. We have a streak, and if I let it go, she's gonna kill me. Now, LCKCL come to NA to train. We have the home turf for the best talent on earth and best retirement home for world champions. Hey, I don't know about to train. It's like, I don't know about training. We do have the home turf for the best talent in North America. Maybe not on Earth. Yeah. So anyways, back to my point. Like, those are a lot of the positives. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if Shopify make it to Worlds and Zinni is able to match BDD and Zeka and Showmaker, like, in a way that, you know, maybe Palafox Insanity and APA can't. I wouldn't be surprised if that happens. Now, the downsides of imports. is, let's start in reverse chronological order, actually. So the last thing, one of the things we talked about when it comes to North American GMs saying, hey, it is less effort and investment to import these A tier Korean mid laners or potential S tier Korean mid laners than developing our own. Because again, systemically, we have less of a player base, we have less of a, we have worse environment, less incentives, the culture isn't there. All these reasons why it wouldn't make sense in North America, and so we're importing. What ends up happening is that takes away even more investment in North America. And if we want the LCS to be its own independent region and to have the import rule the way it is right now, we have to have 3 players. We have to have 3 North American players and 2 imports. In terms of residency, not necessarily in terms of nationality, because people like, you know, FBI and Ayla and like all these OCE players. What ends up happening is you defund, you take away any incentives for tier 2, and you take away the dream of North American mid laners because they know you're just going to import mid lane. Like mid lane is just not a role that we have North American players in, right? Historically, we've only had 1 and 2. Some slits, only 1, even when we had 10 teams. And so it becomes a case of like, Busio, like just role swap, because you ain't going to make it. You could be the best support in the West, but you ain't going to make it in mid. Not because you can't be a great mid laner, but because we're just going to import. Because the A tier Korean mid laners are just going to be better anyways. And so it becomes a point of like, well, if we stop trying to develop S tier talent like Busio, Masu, Yan, APA, if we stop trying to do that, the next blabber isn't going to come. And then our region is going to become even weaker. And in the long run, what we're doing is we're shooting ourselves on the foot for today. Shopify need to make Worlds this year because this year, Worlds is in North America. What happens 4 years from now, or I guess 5 years, right? What happens 5 years from now when it's in North America? Well, guess what? Our North American players suck. Even our LCK imports can't carry us. And so we've become weaker as a region, which gives less incentive for us to, or for LCK teams to come here, LCK players to come here. It gives less incentives to even like play the game. It's very demoralizing when you just get completely destroyed, right? And North Americans are very addicted to this idea of like competing with the West, and it becomes like a dream. And it makes it so when you look at when you're in college or you're in tier 2, you don't even want to compete because you realize that the tier 1 is unsustainable. The players are the same players. You're not bringing in new players. And so new players aren't practicing. And so there are no new players. And so the old players just play forever and get a paycheck. And it kind of kills the league. There's nothing fresh comes from North America. Let me catch up the chat here. Players like Berserker struggled real hard in the LCK and almost went winless. He'd much rather qualify to Worlds through North America. Exactly. It's just, like, look at Berserker. He really thought he could make it onto the top tier LCK team, and he didn't. He tried to carry his team. He couldn't, right? The top end was just so much higher than the top end North America. And he's like, well, it's a lot easier to make it Worlds in North America. It's a lot easier to look better in North America. Here's my thing with imports. Can you show someone who has come to NA, left, and then done something internationally? Huni, obviously. And that's it. So like we make these players worse, clearly. Well, here's the thing. We don't often have players that come to North America and then don't retire. Very rarely do we. I think the only 2 examples I can think of are I guess they do go play in like LPL, right? Like Maple's an example. He came to TSM and then like didn't do great in TSM, I think, and then went to what's it called? Went to the PC to LMS and won again, right? So Maple is a good example for you, Mac. But in terms of like Korea, I think obviously Vikla and Prince, like they completely collapsed. They did not have a great time in LPL. If I'm thinking Berserker obviously didn't do great. Huni did amazing. Rainover never left. He became a coach. Most people don't end up leaving. Like Impact, for example, did something internationally, but with North America, not go back. Very few players like get imported and then go back to LCK. They usually go to LPL or they'll go to like TCL or like these minor regions, like Crown, for example. I think went to Brazil, or not Brazil, but like some other minor region for a while. Broken Blade, I isn't Korean. Core JJ never left North America. I think he means specifically going back to Korea, right? At which point, I'd rather build up Joe from Connecticut personally. Remain on Optic. Well, you're okay. I guess he just says imports. He doesn't say imports to North America, like Korean imports, right? So you're right. Broken Blade is an example. We imported Broken Blade. He did great. Remain Jojo Pune. Oh wait, Jojo Pune was ours that we imported. Never mind. Who else? We didn't get Mickey. Miffy went and was a coach on that Fnatic team, if you want to think of Miffy. And obviously came back and did well with FlyQuest as well. Who else? Actually, technically, Core did. Yeah, he was. Oh, you're right. We got him as 80 carry. Oh my god. Wayne, I'm so sorry. Yes, he was 80 carry. I forgot about that. Dig. Yeah. He won Worlds straight up. So yeah, there are examples, but I think there are a lot more examples of players that come to North America and don't do well after leaving. Do we make them worse? Probably. You have a worse environment, worse practice environment, worse like everything, right? In terms of like play style. It's a lower level, and so like it is harder to maintain it. You're also like, you have to remember, they go through culture shock. Like, it's not easy moving your entire life. Now all of a sudden, all of your LCK friends you could talk to and help improve and play against, they're like 12 hours apart. The 15-hour time difference, 15 to 16, depending on the time of the year. Like it definitely is difficult for some of these players to adapt mentally. So I can see that being like, oh, they become worse, but I don't think that means, like, I'm not sure what that means, right? I don't think that. Yeah, I'm not sure what conclusion we can get from them being worse after they come to North America. Like, what, and then what, right? Um, but at which point I'd rather build up Joe from Connecticut personally. I don't know what that has to do with anything. I'm very confused as to what that means. Sorry, man, I don't think Shopify will make it to Worlds. They need to make one more change, depend on what the support role is. So Seiyus is in the support. Um, I don't know why you'd think that. I think the support role has gotten weaker. 2 of the top 3 supports left, right? So like, I think the top 3 supports by the end of the year were very clearly Busio number 1, Ayla number 2, Vulcan number 3. Like, it was very clear that those were the top supports. Busio left, Ayla isn't playing. That puts Seiyus as top 3. I don't know what we could have done with support besides get Busio, and Busio didn't want us, right? He like, this is, if it's not public, I'm making it public. Like, we offered Busio. It is public. What am I talking about? Like, we were one of his possible destinations, but KC gives you an offer, like, you go to KC. I don't know what to say. Wayne, are you trying to rage bait me? Ignore, brother. No comment. They stay in the same room all day, play games. Culture shocks can be minimized if they just stay inside. Yes, but then even the culture of how they stay in the room, stay in and play games all day is different. Like, the food you eat is different. The bathrooms there are different. Like, the heating is different. The language that you speaking another language for extended period of time is difficult. I know it. I've been to when I didn't speak as much Portuguese, and I would go to Brazil and I'd be completely surrounded by people only speaking Portuguese for like 6 weeks. It's very difficult. Now, obviously, they have to stay for a lot more than 6 weeks. You rather join Dignitas than Shopify? Ignar? I don't think Ignar is I don't think Ignar is going to be a top 3 support coming this year. After what we saw from him in EU, I highly like. It's highly unlikely. It's highly unlikely that he's going to be a top 3 support. Check Sheep Esports. I mean, he is on Dignitas. Ignar is on Dignitas. I just don't think we offered. Oh, you mean Ayla? You mean Ayla? Okay, this makes so much more sense. No, Ayla said no to DSG. I'm so confused as to what you mean. I'm so sorry. Ignar did not have a good year on Giant X, and then like he didn't play for a year. So I'm very confused as to Sheep Esports. Sheepesports.com. If what you mean is Ignar joins Dignitas, yes, I don't think Shopify would ever offer a spot. Like, I don't think we would we would swap out. Well, we couldn't because we would have too many imports. But even if we could, I don't think we would prefer Ignar over Seus. Ayla is that good. I mean, by the end of the year, he was a top 3 support. Like that 100 Thieves run was real. They were playing really well. So was Ayla. So yeah, like I criticized him in 2024. I said he was like probably the worst player on that team. In 2025, he definitely was playing a lot better. Now I do think our support role was quite weak because Core JJ wasn't playing as well as he normally does, which is why he wasn't in my top 3. I think there was a point where Seus was just better than Core JJ, which is not something I would ever say. Um, I thought I would ever say coming into the year. Like I thought Seus was just playing better towards the end of Split 3. Even like the entirety of Split 3, honestly, like he was just better. So I think the support role is just weak in North America, and so and Ayla was just our second best support. Not much to it. But back to the other thing about like you demonetize or you disenfranchise your tier 2, which ends up being a problem in the long run. 4 years from now or 5 years from now, when Worlds is in North America again, who is going to be that solid base? Who's going to be your contracts, your blabber? Like, who are these players if our tier 2 just collapses because we don't take care of it because we're just importing over and over and over again and just making do with whatever we can and recycling our pros and then getting green cards for our imports so we can get even more imports a la Team Liquid multiple times, right? Yeah, that's a problem. That's a big problem. The other issue is I don't know if this is an issue. I don't know where to classify this. Maybe you guys can help me. This is another point that I have another note. The LCK has a problem. Korea has a problem. Now, I don't want to get into politics, so I'm going to try my best to skirt around this as much as possible. The current climate in Korea, the geopolitical climate in Korea, in South Korea, is very harsh. And it leads to certain statistics, certain realities of them not wanting to have kids. Whether they can't afford it, whether the lifestyle there sucks and they can't do it for whatever reason, trying not to get into politics, it is a problem. They have the lowest, them in Japan, I think, have the lowest birth rate in the world. It's not even close. They also have one of the highest suicide rates in the world, if not the highest. I'm pretty sure it's still the highest. I don't know if it's changed, but these are issues that have gotten worse over the past 10 years. Meaning, the reason I bring this up for League of Legends is it becomes very hard to sustain a player base when your population base is decreasing. When the population base does not see a way out, when the population base has more worries and cannot participate in leisurely activities such as like PC cafes, PC bangs, right? It ends up becoming a situation where we've had CEOs of LCK teams say, we can't find people for our academy teams. People are not playing League of Legends in Korea anymore. The next Chovy, the next Faker, they're not playing League of Legends. They're playing Valorant. They're playing Roblox. They're playing these other games. the reason I bring the political climate of Korea is even those games, I would argue, are not, even though they're cooler games and they might be playing those games more, the general population of Korea is decreasing, which means there's not a surplus of imports that they can import us. And if we keep relying on Korea, guess what's going to end up happening? We're going to run out of people that are willing that are A tier that are willing to come to us. We're going to be dipping into the C tier because guess what? All those S tier like Smash, right? Guma, Pays, more recently, right? Like these players are no longer popping up. So then people like Quad and Shiwu and like these players who might not be S tier, right? They might be A tier LCK players, maybe even B tier, are the new cream of the crop for LCK. And if LCK is having a problem finding players, they might start dropping their tier 3 academies, only having tier 2. They might not be as willing to send over their players because they can't find replacements. And if it becomes even harder for North America to import, well, then you're going to look at North America, then you're going to look at our tier 2 scene and it's in crumbles, it's collapsed. And then you're going to start going to freaking LEC. And the cycle is going to keep repeating, and it's not a healthy cycle to go down. It is not good to drain resources until they're completely depleted and then look for a new resource. It is much better to develop healthy habits so that your resource does not deplenish. You want a reoccurring resource, right? If you have a stack of money, you shouldn't just spend it until you have no more money. You should find a way to invest that money so that it brings in more money so that you're not broke by the end of the year, if that makes sense. Let me catch up with the comments real quick. The Zoomers, bro. I watched a Griffin interview with Don Jake. I have it open, but I haven't watched it yet. I'm excited for a Mean Dream Team. That's the thing. The more this, like, in the past, we had 10 Griffins. Now we have 2. That's not good. We used to have so much more Griffins. EG with Jojo Danny, insane scouting back in the days. Yeah, I'm actually going to talk to the scout that scouted them again. But yes, EG had 3 teams. They didn't just have their LCS team, their academy team. They had their like tier 3 team. That's where they got Danny from. If I'm not mistaken, or was it Jojo? I don't remember. That's where they got one of them from. Like the process is real. You need to build out these developmental like teams, or else you're not gonna find. And in the long run, it is cheaper. In the long run, it is so much cheaper because at the end of the day, just trying to think how to phrase this. Players like Berserker, players like Inspired, players like Zinni are expensive. They don't come to North America for cheap. And at some point, it might just be ROI positive to build out your tier 2 and tier 3 systems and have these incredible players and sell them. Like you pick the cream of the crop, they come to your team. If you're Shopify, like let's just say I'm Shopify, we pick up like Rocco or whoever, he's not in esports anymore. Let's just say Kelsey Moser, right? Because very, very famous, popular, sorry, coach who really believes in like developmental like tier 2 and whatnot, right? We bring in Kelsey Moser, we bring in Niles, for example. He's problematic. Never mind. We bring in Kelsey Moser. She's leading the tier 2 project on Shopify Rebellion. She has 2 teams under her, the NACL team or whatever we want to call it, and then like a collegiate team underneath that, however she wants to structure it. And we have these players like Danny, like Jojo, like Masu, Busio, like these cream of the crop, Surdy, like these players, and then we sell them to other teams. And at the end of the day, the players that are like Busio, for example, or Inspired, we keep on Shopify. And the other ones, we ship them off to other teams. And then we look at it and we say, hey, these players, like this program, did it lose us money? Really? In the long term? Because if it costs 100K to run over the 3 years, and we sell 3 players, and each one of them gets us like 30K, and then we get a player from that's the new Busio, isn't that worth it? I think the answer is yes. You really have to do the math on that, right? I don't have the math, and like even if I did, I couldn't share that publicly, right? Um, but there is that argument of like, hey, it's actually financially better than spending six figures on one player when you could develop six of them for that amount of money, right? There's that to think about as well. Nice. Let the LCK destroy itself from within. Finally, the glory days of NA is here. 2026. Okay, Wayne. The issue with that is if we are beating an LCK that has completely and entirely collapsed, where's the pride in that? If we beat LCK this year, like imagine FlyQuest doesn't implode, they end up beating G2, they play against top esports, they beat top esports, they face T1 in the semis, they go 5, they beat T1, they beat like they lose to KT in finals, whatever. Just hypothetical, right? Or we beat G2 Gen G back then, or BLG. That's where the hype is at. When you beat a team that is literally a Goliath. Where's the hype at when you're beating someone who's on his deathbed, right? That's how I think about it. So we gotta just wait them out, put a 45 put a 45-year double lift in, and we win worlds. I'm glad that that's the conclusion that we've all come to. That's really what I was trying to get at here. Ah, man, you're funny. Out of context, this is an argument for the fossil fuel question. Okay. I see what you're saying. You gotta sell the players before they lose the value. Sell them when they're at their best. Think of Vulcan. His buyout was like $1 million. Obviously, there was a lot more money in esports back then. But like, the fact that you were able to get that much money for a buyout of a player is not insignificant. Imagine you replicate that. That is a process. Now, I will bring out something Papa Smithy has said on Twitter yesterday, or maybe the day before. It is it is almost impossible for you to run a 2-year program where year 1, you're not expected to make worlds. So it's like, it's not really a 2-year program. And then if the 2-year program doesn't make worlds within the first year, you scrap it and you start a new 2-year program. So it's not really a 2-year program. Now, it makes it very difficult to develop these players. I don't really want to get into that side of the argument, if that makes sense. But a team like Shopify, where we had a 2-year program, year 1 ended, we didn't make to worlds, unfortunately. I'm gonna be honest, our goal shouldn't have been to even make worlds. Our goal had just been like to develop, even though they're not like developmental pieces, is to make worlds in year 2. And then come into year 2, we make a very obvious upgrade. We get a really good player, and hopefully we make it to worlds. I think that is very rare to happen in esports, right? I think a 2-year program would have been like the FlyQuest program was a 2-year program. Obviously, they peaked year 1, but that was a 2-year project. Like I talked with their head scout, and he said how like, yeah, we don't expect Maso and Busio to be winning worlds year 1. We want to make an international this year. But at the end of the day, our goals is like, this is 2 years. We want to make worlds in 2 years. We want to lift a trophy in 2 years. And they stuck with it. Okay, sorry, let me catch up the chat again. I think terrible GMing is ruining the LCS more than imports are. Ooh, Henry. Do you mind explaining that? What do you mean terrible GMing? I feel like when we collapse to 8 teams, there's so little GMing that we can do besides Dignitas, who have terrible GMing for a while, and hopefully I can talk to their ex-assistant GM. We've been trying to schedule it, man. Every time I cancel, he cancels. This video should have been out 2 weeks ago. I'm so sorry to him. But yeah, elaborate a little bit on what you mean terrible GMing is ruining the LCS. Are you saying that the GMs are the ones that are importing, and so it's the GM issue, not import issue? Are you saying that the roster construction and the idea behind it, like what part of terrible GMing do you mean? Exactly. No one thinks highly of the victories against LCK in 2018. Really? I feel like we still hold that pretty high, especially since LCK had just won Worlds the year before. Like, yes, 2018 was a downslide for the LCK, but they still had some respect. Like, they still had that KT team, right? Like, that KT team was legit. I think they were second best team. I know Fnatic made World Finals, but that KT team was the second best team in the world, I think, at that time. And maybe if they got the rematch against, I mean, history is history. FlyQuest going to Game 5 versus Gen G is much more impressive than C9 3-0ing Afrika. I agree. There's no, I missed something. Like at least 30% of the current crop of LCS players don't deserve a job. Ooh. Okay. Before I go into that comment, Henry, 30% of LCS players total or North American players? 30% is a That's a big number. I don't know that I agree with that. I don't know that I agree with that. That's a lot. That's like 20 players or something. Actually not 20. Wait, what am I talking about? That's maybe like 10 actually. Because how many players do we have? We have 40, right? 10 is 25, so it's 12, 12-ish players. Are there 12 players that don't deserve to be there? I don't know. That's a lot more tame actually now that I think of the number. Uh, okay, man, that was pre-COVID shenanigans. Oh, the LCK stuff. I actually don't remember what we were talking about back then. Maybe Africa. I think there are multiple players who are not good enough to have jobs, get jobs through nepotism. Yes, I think over the years, if you look at 2020 and you look at 2025, I think the amount of players that are getting hired because of nepotism or don't deserve a job has decreased a lot. I think there's still a very obvious organization like Dignitas that keeps making these decisions that everyone's just like, what the hell? Why are we doing this? This makes no sense. I agree with you. Um, but I don't know that I would say. I think it's been improving for sure. That's my perspective. There have been times where it was really really bad. Uh, how he gonna give you that interview when you just called him out on bad GM? So this wasn't the general manager. This was the assistant general manager. So just to clarify, Bakery, I've criticized them multiple times. I'm not interviewing Bakery. I'm interviewing Toby, who I don't think had anything to do with roster construction. And I'm just going to talk to him about his time in esports as well. Like he started way back in 2015 on TDK. Like he has a lot more history. And I just wanted to have like an open conversation with him because I think he's leaving esports. So he's really cool. I love him to death. He's awesome. Um, and I think he tried to make the best out of some very bad decisions on Dignitas. 30% of total LCS players. Okay, let's look up LCS. Okay, LCS players. Okay, this sheet has. Okay, let's go on C9. Thanatos, Blibers, APA, Sven, Vulcan. I think all of those deserve a spot. Can we agree on C9? Let's just go team by team. Tough for Dignitas when the first thing that pops up on Google is you. Yeah, they really should change their name. They really should change their name. Hot take about the C9 Africa series. They don't 3-0 them. Summit never comes to C9 in 2021. Well, he came to them in 2022, not 2021. 2021 was the Perks year. But what do you mean? Hot take. What? I don't see the dominoes. Was Summit on Africa? No, that was Keen. So what does Summit have to do with? Oh, you think because Summit watched C9 beat Africa that he's like, oh, C9 is this prestigious org that can compete at some point, like they have history? Is that what you mean, Mac? I agree. GM significantly better than it was even like 4 years ago. I agree. The bottom teams still have issues. Completely agree. Even the top teams have strange roster construction sometimes. I mean, I'm gonna be honest. I don't understand Team Liquid a lot of the times. Like, I thought last year was their greatest GMing year. It was 6-man on Africa. Wait, Summit was 6-man on Africa? Dang. I can't believe Keen had a 6-man. Keen was like completely 1v9. Like his entire career, honestly. Okay, but Henry, we can agree on the top five, like on C9, right? I don't think C9 have anyone that I would say does not deserve to be in LCS. Let's look at Lion. Zamudo inspired Saint, Berserker, Isles. I think the very obvious one that people would say is Isles. But I will say support is our weakest role. I don't know who you replace Isles with. Considering they already have 2 imports. Well, technically 3, but Inspired has a green card. If you say Isles, I'm willing to give that to you, but very reluctantly, because I don't know who you replace Isles with. We have very poor bad supports. Our supports, like, I mean, I guess you could say Ayla. Okay, I'll give you that much. You could say Ayla. Never mind. I'll be quiet. There's Ayla. Team Liquid is actually so weird. I don't understand how their top side ended up like that. Steve talks about it a little bit. Man, why is my back hurting? I really need to work out. I hate it when I don't work out and my back starts hurting. My camera on TikTok still isn't working. This is ridiculous. I tried everything to fix it. I just give up. So Isles. Okay, so that's one. Let's say that's 1 out of 10 that we've looked at. That's 10% so far. I think C9 is good. TL, I don't know. FlyQuest, I like. FlyQuest, I like. Lion has one polar bear. Sen has multiple. Dig has multiple. DSG has one polar bear. Who does DSG? Humbug? Humbug, I mean. So excited to watch Zini. Hell yeah. SR is hard to judge. I really like the mid lane. I don't. Okay. Seiyus was a top 4 support in North America by the end of split 3. I think that's really hard to say he doesn't deserve a spot. I think Ayla could have joined DSG instead of Lions. He said no. Could he have joined instead of Ignar? I'm guessing Team Liquid wanted an import top, so Yuji had to go since he was an import. Yeah, they also were considering getting Castle. Like it was between Castle, Clear, and Morgan. And they picked Morgan. Maybe Morgan comes and he smurfs. Like maybe that's true. I'm gonna hold on judgment. But in a hypothetical, I'm not saying I agree with this, but if we were to say that Hambak, you said DSG has Lions, yeah. So Hambak, Lions, Isles. Let's go to Dignitas. Who does Dignitas have? Photon, Palafox, Ignar. That's 6 people. What's 6 over 50? That's 3 out of 25. That's about 15%. That's 15%. That's not 30%, but still, like, I see what you mean. Call Me maybe? I don't know. I don't know much about Call Me, so I can't really judge him. But if you were to throw in Morgan and Jose and Call Me, for example, like that number goes up to what? 15, 20, 25%. Yeah. Palafox as well. XU you could throw in. XU is like one of those players who's like better than everyone else below him in tier 2. You can't throw Yuji on there because they have Ignar and Photon. So I understand why Yuji couldn't go on Dignitas. I don't know. It's hard. It's hard. Yeah, I can see your 30%, Henry. I can see your 30%. I do think some of that 30% comes from the fact that we like Yuji is an import, right? So like if you look at XU or you look at Hambak, well, Hambak is an import. Never mind. They obviously could have put in Yuji instead of Hambak. Yeah, but like Audieland, I think Audieland would have not been an import and he could have been on Dignitas. Maybe he said no, and that's why they got XU. Honestly, like, yeah, Ayla did say no to DSG, but if Ayla joins like Lion and then Isles joins DSG, maybe that's more reasonable. Like you could, I can see your 30%. Do you know? Okay, I'm sorry. To be honest, I rate the players kind of harshly, so I understand you not fully agreeing with me. I'm just trying to look at it from your perspective. I'm not saying this is what I would say publicly, right? Do you know how many players in the scene feel about Isles? He seems to be bad, but by the Lion pickup. The Lion pickup seems to be just some players feel like Isles is actually really good, and I think that's why he's getting one last chance. Berserker also played with him, so it could be Berserker played with him. He was actually really good. I think he's smart about the game. I just feel like he was also on Dignitas for a couple years, and it's really hard to rate or judge players when they're on Dignitas. That's my feeling of Isles. It could be a thing of like, this guy's really smart, and whenever we talk to him, we really enjoy, like, we think he's like, he could be a really good player, just like leave Dignitas. It could be that. But anyways, sorry. I digress a lot. Going back to imports. So one of them is like we talked extensively about how it ruins the ecosystems, and unless we have healthy ecosystems, which importing is the way we're importing is not good, then both tier 2 in North America and Korea is going to collapse, and it's not very good for the League of Legends ecosystem. The second issue is this feels like the same issue, honestly. How do I differentiate this? Let me just think of how I want to phrase this. Give me a second here. The second issue is I feel like it's the same. You end up in a situation where players cannot dream because they know, like for example, with Busio, he ended up being convinced to role swap to support because he realized that it was improbable for him to become a top tier mid laner because they're always going to import. And that the removal of a dream, if you can't sit down and imagine yourself playing on the biggest stages in your own role, that kills the drive for competitive esports in North America, not just in tier 2, but even tier 1. If it becomes a situation where Inspired will not join a team unless they have a Korean mid laner and a Korean AD carry, that, I'm not saying he said this, just hypothetical, that kills the North American tier 1 scene, not just the tier 2 scene. Obviously it connects because it does destroy the tier 2 scene, but it absolutely kills the tier 1 scene. Because what ends up happening is the Palafoxes of the worlds and the APAs in the worlds and the Insanities of the worlds will only ever go to Dignitas and Immortals and crap teams, and it will continue to loop a cycle of North America doesn't have good mid laners because we put all the good mid laners in bad situations that they can't like come out of, and then that's confirmation bias that North America has no good mid laners, and then it makes it so Fire, like our dream mid laners who could be these mid laners, like a Loki or like a Quid or like a Quad, end up just not playing. And the when you remove that hope, people will not take it seriously. Like no mid laner is going to grind seriously, thinking when he knows the teams, even if he's better than Saint, for example, better than Quad, better than Call Me, they still won't pick him up. They'll still, at worst, they'll pick up Abadage, right? They'll pick up a Dove. They'll pick up these players that you really shouldn't have faith in. So it's an issue in the sense of like you are taking away the dream of players, and that is against what the LCS represents. Like, let's be honest here. The LCS is an entertainment product where the highest level of competitors can sit down, have a dream of like, obviously you can have like 5 players in a dreams. We do have promotion tournament, but like it's a lot different than it used to be. And you go into the split with the idea that I can make it to the highest level. I can make it to the biggest stages. When you just go to a role like mid lane and say, no, you can't, we're killing any hope you have of that, that affects North American mid laners, which will inevitably cause the collapse of North America. I'm not gonna lie, Isles looks like one of the worst players I've seen in the LCS ever. I disagree. I think we've had some very bad players, but he has looked bad. I really hope he plays well, though. If Lion is a good team, they will do very well at internationals. I think so, too. I think the imports this year, a decent chunk of them, are actually good imports who are legit better than the NA counterparts. I don't know how good Humbug is. I don't know how good Call Me is. I don't know how good Morgan is. I don't know how good... I know how good Photon is. He was better than Surdy. But would I pick him up over Dokla or Surdy? Well, Dokla didn't want to play. Would I pick him up over Surdy? I'd say no. I'd still prefer Surdy. Now, Surdy probably doesn't want to go back to Dignitas. So do you really pick up a sniper who is like completely collapsed mentally? I can see that. Geckos is an import. Who else? Humbug, I don't know much about. Bevoy, I think, has proved his worth. Zinni, I think, is good. Quid is good. Morgan, I already said, I don't know. Rahel, I thought was really, really good. Berserker, I think should be good. Castle, I think, has earned a spot. He's pretty good. Photon, I don't think is good enough. Ignar, I don't think is good enough. So maybe 2 or 3 of our imports that I feel like shouldn't be there. But the problem is that our NA talent pipeline is so bad. Yeah, that's the other thing. We talked earlier about the NA talent pipeline, that they're not getting the chance to develop to be better than the Korean counterparts. I mean, even if we did, even if we had a pipeline, would these players be better than the Korean alternatives? Maybe not. Hambak is a good player, but why not get Yuji in that situation? I agree. I'm with you there. I feel like both are imports. I don't know. You pay more for Hambak when Yuji is chilling on the sides. Look, I completely agree. I completely agree. And again, you would think like this is a Golden Glue run team. I feel like Golden Glue wouldn't just import for the sake of importing. I don't understand it. Maybe they ran tryouts and he was just so much better. I don't understand. I don't understand. Yeah, I don't understand. Because Hambak played in LCK, Yuji didn't. I mean, so what? Dove played in LCK, like so what? I think that's really bad. I mean, I know you're being like sarcastic, right? Sen's team is so weird. I think Impact, Darkwings, Rahel, Huhi, that's a really good team. I don't know how good Humbug is going to be. Supposed to be developmental roster? I don't think it's supposed to be a developmental roster, really. I think they said that, but then they went and got a bunch of experienced players. I think Darkwings might be the only developmental piece. I think if you have a developmental roster, you need at least two like young players, and I don't see the young players here besides Darkwing. I mean, Hambak, he played, let's see, he played on Brion for a year. So maybe you could, I mean, he had a little, yeah, he played for a year. Maybe not a full year, but he played for a bit. He, so maybe you could argue Hambak is just as fresh as what's his name? As Darkwings. I think Impact and Huhi don't have it anymore. Okay, Impact, I disagree with. Supposed to be a development roster, but 3/5 of the roster is above the age of 25. The only source of hands on this team is Rahel and Hambak. They will be owned by legit good teams. Okay, Impact a year ago was MVP. He was the best player in the league. Now, yes, his 2025, his 2024 Worlds and 2025 was rough, but I think people who have proved themselves like Impact deserve more than a year. You give them 2 years. If they suck for 2 years, then you're just like, I'm sorry, no more Impact. But I think players like Impact deserve at least 2 years. That's how I think about it. Because what ends up happening is after having one bad year, you can definitely bounce back. That's why I give them 2 years. Which is why Ignar 2024 had a horrible 2024. 2025 didn't even play. Do I really want to give him a third year? Like he couldn't even find a team. I don't know. That's how I think about it. It's interesting. I think I'm looking at the Sen roster and I hope Darkwing's taking Korean classes. I kind of agree, but when you look at his body of work in 2025, I don't think there's anything positive to say. Like not a single bright spot. Well, okay, in lane swaps, he was really good. In 2025, like when they had that weird lane swaps, he won a like LCS split 1. So there was that, and I think towards the end of split 3, he had a couple good games. But I agree with you. How much more can he bounce back? Hasn't the league at this point moved past him? Not really. Like again, if he didn't win MVP in 2024, I'd agree with you. I'd be like, okay, at this point, you're not top die anymore. Impact, right? You're just like a good top laner. But the fact that he is very smart about the game, he knows a lot about macro, and he was able to show the individual prowess a year ago makes me think, okay, he can bounce back. He can bounce back to being the best top laner in the league. He was the best top laner in 2024. So, and guess what? We had Thanatos back then. We had Fudge for a split, right? We had what's his name? Whippo. We had Castle. We had these players. He was just better. We also had Fake God. So yeah, that's my thought on that. If Fearless wasn't a thing, I don't think Impact is like a two trick. I think he plays a lot of champions. Bigger victim of Fearless than APA was? I think he was a bigger victim of himself. I don't know that it was Fearless that did him, but maybe. I haven't looked at his champion and his win. Like, he just played so poorly that on champions that normally he would play good on. It wasn't like games 1 and 2 he was like incredible, and then games 3, 4, and 5 he was just like horrible because his champ pool wasn't there. Like, he, like with APA, he plays Ziggs, he's like almost solo carrying the game, but just not enough juice. Whereas Impact, it didn't matter what champion he was playing, he just always played bad. And maybe you could argue, oh, he had to practice more champions in solo queue and in scrim. So, I mean, there is that argument. But okay, look at the champions who played on goal.gg. All right, let's go to goal.gg and then go to Impact. Search Impact. And then look at his champions. Okay, Renekton, Rumble, Gwen, Sion, Gragas, Cassante, Galio, Gangplank. It was super constricted. I don't understand your point. I'm sorry. Like, if the idea is he didn't play as many champions as other people, he's always been a good Renekton. He's always played Rumble. Even on that FlyQuest like team in 2023 when they didn't even make playoffs, like he was hard carrying on the Rumble, which is why they got only a couple wins, right? Like he was definitely a bright spot on that FlyQuest team. Like Sion, he used to be like when it was his comfort pick. I feel like, is this only like one split? Surely he's played more did he really only play 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 games? There's no way he only played 13 games. This is summer. Okay. Let's look at all. There we go. Rumble, Renekton, Sion, Cassante, Jax. Like, just his top 5. He's played them a bunch. Win rate is kind of fake, but look at his win rates off Renekton and Rumble. Ah, that's what you're saying. Yeah, but his team didn't have a high win rate, so it's kind of bad. But yeah, Sion, Cassante, Jax, Galio, all 40% and under. Yeah, I fixed it. I thought I clicked all, but I guess I didn't. He was 32 and 34. I thought he had a much worse year, to be honest. I'm surprised he won that many games. He won 32 games? Isn't that crazy that even though he made an international event and made it to playoffs 2 years in a row, or like every single split in this year, he still had less games than like people had in the regular splits in like China and LPL and LCK. It's kind of whack. I see what you're saying, but I don't think he's a bad Sion or a bad Cassante. I think he was just bad. Maybe I will give you this. Maybe Mbessa is a champion that he doesn't play very well, and he was like forced to play it or forced to ban it, and then like or forced play against it, and he doesn't know those matchups. So maybe. But I don't know. At least my memory of how he played, I didn't feel like Fearless was an issue. I thought it was more of an Impact issue. But I have blabbered on for long enough, I feel, about this topic. I think yes, I have some information that I can share. What specifically? Okay. Let me see how much I can share. There were other teams that wanted Zinni. Shopify was willing to spend a good amount of money to bring him. I don't know how much money we spent. That's not something that they told me. I know that there was. Let me pull up this tweet for you. I think this is the best way I can say this without spoiling too much. Let me pull up this tweet. I'm just gonna copy and paste it in chat. So before I say this, actually, he was a free agent. So last year, people tried to buy him out of KT. KT was like, "Nah, we're keeping him in case they wanted to get rid of BDD or whatever. Like they could sell him or something." They didn't. He became free agent. We signed him. Obviously, it was a lot easier to negotiate when he's a free agent than having to talk to a team for a buyout. Blah blah blah. Having said that, is that interview you're dropping tomorrow? Explain more. Yes. So this was very very important to Zinni, that he does not have any inhibitions. It was one of the things that he actually negotiated. If you've watched Zinni before, you'll notice that he is a unique character. I don't want to spoil my interview too much, so I'm just gonna say that. I thought it was the craziest thing I've ever heard in a player contract that he wanted. I thought that was, I was just like, what the hell? This makes no sense. Or not that makes no sense, but like I would have never expected someone to have a condition like that. Um it's not all that crazy, but it's just like the way he thinks about like not wanting to be inhibited and wanting to be himself is really really cool. Which is why I think he'll thrive on Shopify, specifically under Revan. So that was one thing that was like a big draw. Obviously, I don't know if we paid more than other teams. I think teams were willing to spend money on Zinni. Like he's the next Chovy, right? Next Faker. Inhibitions? Can you elaborate? It is a spoiler if I say what the inhibitions are. Yeah, I'm sorry, Henry. I think I'll let you watch the interview. I don't want to spoil too much. It's coming out in 14 hours. So in less than 14 hours. I actually still have to upload it. I haven't. I've been trying to make a thumbnail for it. Anyways, but yeah. Well, now I'm excited for the interview. I'm glad it worked. But yeah, I think Shopify now. I think it's a combination of like one. If he went to the LPL, would he go to a BLG? Would he go to like a JDG or a top esport? Like, would he go to a top team? I don't know if that's true or not. And then you look at North America and you're like, I could join this team that was third. I watched the VOD of their mid laner. Oh my god, I'm so much better. We would have won. I can make it to Worlds, lift the championship, win championship money, and go to Worlds in North America, be a fan favorite, like, and have this like the bag, get the bag. Like, there's so much that he could. I can see how Revan or Simon, our GM, could end up negotiating that part. How did you set it up with Revan? I DM'd him. I was like, "Yo, Revan, let's talk." Just asked him post league, or did he set it up with you? No, no. Every year, I just every year at the end of the year, um, after not after Worlds. Yes, after Worlds. I don't know what I was gonna say before. After Worlds ends, I wait like a week or two, and then I hit up Revan. I'm like, hey, when can we talk? And then he gives me a time, and then we talk. And I don't know if you watched part one, but part one is like always talking about the year 2025, and then part two is talking about 2026. Honestly, I didn't watch SR Contact last year because I didn't really like the way SR played. But with Zinni, I'll definitely watch more. Hell yeah, yeah! I'm excited for people to. Their content is actually good. Their team is legit interesting. Now I see. I'm looking forward to see. I'm looking forward to another Shopify fan. It's nice to see people like, even if it's just for the players, like actually be interested in Shopify. And I think we could do a really really good job this year with our content, with what we're trying, like our brand. Because I think one thing that we have failed over the past 2 years is to make ourselves the rebels, right? Like, what does being a rebel really mean? And I understand why it took so long, especially because we were working for a long time for like the Moist Esports combination with Shopify Esports. It took a little bit to like, it took a lot of resources for that to happen, right? So then now that it has happened, how do we brand ourselves as the rebels? If you looked at our jerseys this year, like that jersey with like the spray paint is like rebels spray painting, right? And I really want to push that narrative going into 2026. Is like, hey, we are the rebels. Like, if you're a fan, you're a fan of everything. From your knowledge, would you say Zinni is a franchise player? I don't know. I don't think he's a franchise player. I don't. If you ask me 5 years from now, would Zinni be on Shopify? I'd say no. If you ask me 5 years from now, would Fudge be on Shopify? I'd say maybe. But if you ask me 5 years from now, would Zinni be on there? I'd say I don't think so. Can I look? Okay, he's officially announced. So let me go to the contract database. If it's already there, let me league contract database. Global contract database. Okay. Let me go here. Oops. Where is the contract database? Here it is. Let me go to North America. And then let me go to Shopify. Dignitas, Flackless, Sentinels. Palafox? Oh, it has not been updated. What is this? Okay, I was trying to see if he's a 2-year contract or a 1-year contract. I'm not entirely sure what they negotiated. I would imagine 2. Really? You haven't updated freaking okay, whatever. I feel like if we announced it, it should be on the contract database. How does it say we let go of Palafox? How is Palafox active as of November 17, 2026? We let go of him. We dropped him. He already signed with another team. I don't know. Whatever. They didn't even remove the America section. Yeah, we're still America. And we still have LTSO here. Like it's really old. They have not. And the last update November 28th. You liars. Maybe you updated it, you just didn't update everything. You updated like something. But yeah, I don't think that I can't envision him as our franchise player. Now maybe he pulls like a freaking Thanatos or something, and just like stays, or Impact, right? And just stays and becomes a top player for a while. If he becomes our franchise player, I'd love that. Yeah, I don't see it happening. But who knows? I don't want the boomerang for sure. I don't want the boomerang either, but I can understand if you're like, okay, the project from 2025 that we started was make Worlds in 2026 when it's an NA, win a championship if we can. If we do it and then we restart, like going into 2027, we'll get rid of 4 of our players, right? And maybe Fudge is the only one that remains. And we get 2 rookies and something, and like Zinni's not on there. I can see that. But I also don't want like Zinni to only join for us for a year. That would be pretty sad. But yeah, my throat is dry. I also haven't been drinking water. I think boomeranging is more rare nowadays. So a player like Zinni, it seems like they occur. I mean, we brought in Caney for a year. He boomeranged. We brought in Dove. He boomeranged. I think boomerang still happens. Like, I mean, Loki, I'm not going to count as a boomerang because he wanted to play on Cloud9. He just couldn't. But boomeranging, like, it still happens. Like, Photon would have boomeranged if Dokla said yes to Dignitas. He just don't want to play in Dignitas. I don't know. Maybe he didn't like Swiffer as a coach. Like, who knows why. Like, Thanatos has been here for almost 2 years now. Saint is here for the future. Loki only left because of uncontrolled circumstances. That's true. Quad is staying. That's true. I feel like the boomerang only used to happen with like the biggest contracts, but we're not really giving these big contracts anymore. So they're committed a little bit more. It could be an issue of like, I boomeranged because I made $3 million and I don't really want to play here anymore. But now that the people that come to play here are actually dedicated, I'm not sure. Maybe I can talk to a GM and see what they think. But yeah, I am tired. My throat mainly is tired, so I'm gonna call it a day here. I did get some good perspectives of like why we might think that importing isn't as bad or isn't as good. Like I'm still not convinced that it's good or bad. I don't know what it is. I think there's a good aspect to it and there's a bad aspect to it. But I don't know if overall it's a negative or overall it's a positive. I'm leaning towards overall it being a negative. but I still think there's a lot of details that I don't have access to that maybe I can talk to people in DMs and they would give me that information. Um, maybe I could like DM Kelsey Moser or um, maybe Peter Dunn and like get his experience from like a few years ago. But yeah, I'm leaning towards a negative. Good night, Beats. I look forward to the interview and Zinni's inhibitions. Yeah, good night, man. Thanks for hanging out. It was fun. It was a fun stream. I haven't streamed like this in a while. Just